I was standing there, my hands trembling, counting coins one by one as the line behind me grew longer. 82 years old, widowed, and without enough money to even buy a can of soup. People sighed impatiently, some even chuckled. But then, a 17-year-old cashier did something no one expected. And what happened next? Well, it didn't just change my life. It touched the hearts of millions of people around the world. Because sometimes God uses the youngest among us to remind everyone what true love really looks like.
If you're tired of hearing the same old stories online, this is where you'll find something different. Here, you'll hear real stories filled with faith in God, moments of compassion, resilience, values, and kindness. The kind of things the world seems to be running out of. Stories that warm your heart, challenge your perspective, and remind you that light still exists in the middle of the darkness. If that's what you've been searching for, please subscribe now. I want you to stay with me until the very end of this story, because I believe it will stay with you for a long time. This happened last winter in a small grocery store on the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama. It was a typical February Tuesday, gray skies, sidewalks damp from the cold rain. But inside that modest store, in aisle 4, something extraordinary was about to happen. Something that made me realize God's plan is perfect, even in the simplest of moments. My name is Dorothy Williams. I'm 82 years old and have been a widow for 3 years. For over 4 decades, I was a second-grade teacher, teaching not only math and reading, but kindness, patience, and respect. After my husband passed, my pension barely covered the essentials. My days grew quieter, my grocery lists shorter. I no longer baked cakes for neighbors or bought flowers to brighten the house. That winter, my choices came down to just the basics. That Tuesday morning, I left home early to avoid the crowds. The cold rain clung to my coat as I walked slowly to the store. I picked up 3 items: whole wheat bread, a carton of skim milk, and a can of chicken soup, my meals for the next few days. When I reached the checkout, the young man at the register greeted me with a warm smile. His name tag read Liam Reed. "Good morning, ma'am. I hope you're keeping warm out there," he said kindly. I smiled back, but my heart was heavy. He scanned the items. Beep, beep, beep. The total appeared: $6.52. I opened my worn purse and took out a folded tissue that held the coins I had for the week. I counted them. 25 cents, 10 cents, 5. Then I realized I was 89 cents short. The shame burned my cheeks. I looked at him and whispered, "Sweetheart, maybe we should put the soup back. I can come another day." The line behind me grew restless. Someone sighed loudly. I even heard a man mutter, "Come on, Grandma." I wanted to disappear. But Liam didn't let that happen. He looked at me, then at the soup, and without hesitation reached into his own wallet and pulled out $1. "This one's on me, ma'am. God's been good to me. I want to be good to you." I tried to refuse, but he just smiled warmly and scanned the soup. Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked at him. I whispered, "Thank you, young man. You don't know how much this means to me." That simple act of kindness felt like a warm light in the cold winter morning. I thought the story would end there, but it didn't. As I reached for my bag to leave, I heard a soft voice behind me. I turned and saw the woman who had been right behind me in line. Tears glistened in her eyes as she stepped forward and said, her voice trembling, "I want to pay for the next 5 people in line." It was like the air shifted. Time slowed down. Liam looked at her in surprise. But before he could respond, the man in the gray suit, the same one who had grumbled impatiently moments ago, spoke up from further back. "Make it 10. I'll cover the rest." A wave of murmur swept through the line. People glanced at each other, reaching for their wallets. The young mother holding a toddler whispered, "Add mine too, and a pack of diapers for her." An older gentleman, wearing a veteran's cap, nodded toward Liam. "Ring me up for whatever she needs for the month." Kindness spread like wildfire. Liam's hands moved quickly at the register, scanning groceries, while strangers, who moments before didn't even make eye contact, began talking to each other, smiling, even laughing. The tension in the store melted away, replaced with something warm and alive. And all of it, every single act of generosity, started because one 17-year-old chose compassion over convenience. I didn't know it at the time, but someone had been filming. A young woman named Amanda posted the video with the caption, "Teen Cashier does what no adult did. Faith in humanity restored." In 48 hours, it had over 5 million views. The local news picked it up, then national news. People began sending letters, donations, and messages of encouragement for Liam, for the store, and even for me. 2 weeks later, Liam received a handwritten letter with no return address. Inside was a simple note addressed to the young man at Register 3. "You don't know me, but you helped someone I love more than words. That woman is my mother. She raised me alone and gave everything she had to others. Last week, she told me she had never felt so ashamed until you reminded her that she still matters. Thank you for being the kind of man I hope my son grows up to be." The store manager framed the letter. The staff started calling him the hero at Register 3. Liam hated that nickname. He'd always say, "I just did what my mom taught me. When you can help, you help. God is always watching." And here's the most beautiful part. I began receiving letters myself, hundreds of them. Cards, grocery store gift certificates, even care packages from complete strangers. A man from Texas offered to pay my bills for an entire year, all because one young man chose kindness over hurry. I've realized something profound. God doesn't need grand miracles to change lives. Sometimes He uses a teenager, 89 cents, and a can of soup to show the entire world what true love looks like. In a busy world, a teenager stopped. An elderly woman mattered. And a moment lit a fire, not just in a grocery store, but in the hearts of a nation. So I'll leave you with this question. When God places someone in your path in need, will you be ready to be His hands and His heart here on earth? Did this story touch your heart the way it touched mine? Maybe this could have been your grandma's story. If it feels that way, go ahead and drop her name and a favorite memory you have of her in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Have you ever been used by God to bless someone without even realizing it? Or maybe you've been the one who received a random act of kindness that changed your day. Share your story with us. Because in a world that often feels a little lost and disconnected, we all need reminders that God is still working through ordinary people, just like you and me. Before you go, I want to invite you to watch our next story,
about a dad who stood up to protect two kids and ended up bringing justice to his whole town. If you believe in everyday heroes and how God moves through them, you'll want to see this one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it when it drops.
Thank you for listening. God bless you.